Go.
This is a short demonstration to show you how to make your own veiners. Many people doing sugarcraft either can't get a hold of the veiners, or the veiners they want are quite expensive. All I've done here is I've gone into the garden and I've picked some leaves that have got a very strong veining, nice prominent veins on the back. This is from a ornamental cabbage leaf, and this is just one out the garden, and I'm going to use them to make some veiners. I'm using a 2-part silicone veining moulding compound. This one is actually called Silicone. There is another one that's also blue and white, and there is another compound out there that I know of that is green and white. They all have slightly different properties. I like this one in particular because it sets in 10 minutes. They come in a 2-part colour. The reason being, you have to mix them together to become active, and by having them in 2 parts it's easier to see when they're fully mixed. So I'm going to start. I've got my leaf, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of cold cream on my fingers, not too much, and I'm going to cover the back of this leaf with the cold cream. This is so that the silicone mix doesn't stick to it. So you make sure you cover the whole leaf. I'm just going to wipe the excess off of my fingers with a bit of kitchen towel. And I now need to take equal parts of my mixing compound. So I've got a little digital scale here, which I'm going to switch on. It's guesswork how much to use. You don't want too little, otherwise you've got a very skinny little leaf. You don't want too much. So I've chosen about that much of the blue, and that is 12 grams. So I need to have an equal amount of the white. I'll take that little bit out that I've managed to put in there. And I want approximately, well, as close to 12 grams as I can of the white. 10, 8, a little bit more. Oh, much too much. 12, 2, that will do. Mix the 2 of them together. Now you can see why you've it in 2 parts. They have to be evenly mixed, and you can obviously see when it is and when it isn't. Mix the lot together. The problem with these as against your professional moulds is that in the mixing process you will get the odd air bubble. I then roll it into a nice ball. Take the leaf that I've put, that's got the prominent side facing me, that I've put my cold cream on, and I start at the base and push the silicone plastic up over the mould. I'm trying to push out whatever air I can to have as little air bubble as possible. Bring it down to the base, go all the way around. Now some leaves are like this, you can match the leaves up together. If you think it may not, it's going to be difficult to match them, then leave it to dry over a slight hump, something that gives it some shape so that you can match your back and front together. If it's not going to be a problem, we're going to leave that now to set for 10 minutes. Now in 10 minutes time I should be able to just peel that off, and I will have the one side of my leaf. So up. Now I have in the past forgotten my silicone gel, my silicone moulding compound, and come back an hour later and had to start again. So what I tend to do now is I take a timer and I set it for 10 minutes, and I take that wherever I go. So when it goes off, I know to come and look at my leaves. I'm going to put this to one side. Now it's been 10 minutes, so I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to peel my leaf or my petal away. And you can see, if I turn this, you should be able to see I've got some beautiful veins on here. This is still very floppy, so it now needs to be left for an hour to get firm. It needs to be nice and firm like these ones before I can do the other half. So I'm now going to go away, put everything up to one side, and come back in an hour. Right, it's now an hour later, or more, it doesn't really matter, it can be more than an hour, but this is now nice and solid. And we can now make the other half of the veiner from the one we've just created. And once again we take our cold cream and cover the whole surface in cold cream. Make sure that you don't fill all these wonderful little veins that you've just made with cold cream. Otherwise there is nowhere for the compound, moulding compound, to go into. So I'm just making sure I rub it on my fingers so I don't have excess, lots of it digging in. So I'm just covering this whole thing with cold cream. Get rid of the excess on a bit of kitchen towel so I don't have too much on my hands. And once again, weigh your 2 parts of your compound. So I'm going to go for probably about 10 grams on each of these. Oh, it's 11.4, that'll do me fine. Doesn't have to be put exact, it's what you want, but as long as both of them are the same, approximately. 8.2, 11.4, 11.3, perfect. Let's get those out the way. It's out the way. Mix the two together as we did before. There are different compounds. This one I like because it only takes 10 minutes to set. There are other ones on the market that take an hour to set. I think they're much of a muchness. I think some are probably better than others, but this does the job perfectly for me. As you can see, I've mixed the two, so I've got a nice colour of blue. Roll it into a ball, and as I did before, start at the base of the mould. This is the mould rather than the leaf, and I'm working my way up to push out any air bubbles we get that we'll get. There will be air bubbles because this is not a commercial product. We're not injecting it with the liquid formers that people use when you buy these your veiners, but this is perfect for our purposes. Now I sometimes tap it just to make sure I've got a really it's firmly pushed into those veins. Make sure you don't overlap the sides because it will stick to the overlap. So do check it that you're not over, and if you are over, like so, bring your moulding compound back. Don't go over, it will stick to that part and it won't come away. Right, that now gets left once again for 10 minutes and then we will separate the two. Right, 10 minutes are up. Let's separate these two. As you can see, look, they come apart very, very easily. Separate them. This one is still very floppy. This one's a firm one. And leave it to dry. And you can see, if I move these around, you can see the different veins. And that's your 2-part veiner made. Quite easy, quite simple, with whatever you've got in your garden. One little point, if you're going to make your own veiners and you're going to use some leaves, choose quite large leaves, because otherwise you're going to be making all different size veiners for every different size leaf that you make. If you make one that's like this, fairly large, you can then use it to make small leaves and bigger leaves rather than making a new veiner for each one. And that's how you make your own veiners.